Hi, Shorty here. Recently retired. I now survive on a state pension of £230 and 25 pence a week, plus a small workplace pension. Not easy. If I'd known about investing earlier in my life, retirement would be much nicer. If you want a decent retirement, please learn from my example. The rest of this video will show you A. How just a small weekly investment can grow nicely over time. B. How, yes, you can afford to invest. C. Where to invest. And D. How to invest. I'll show you examples of different investment styles which show you why it is best to start early. Now would be good. I'll show you the likely returns with examples. To prove the point, I'll be setting up an investment and following that up with weekly videos to show its progress. Or not. Okay, let's get straight to it. But first of all, the legal bit to cover my butt. This should not be taken as financial advice. I am not a financial advisor, just a guy with lots of experience on earth. You could get back less than you invest. If in doubt, you should seek the advice of a registered financial advisor. Okay, butt protected. Let's get to it. Part A shows how investing even a small amount weekly can grow into a useful sum over time. The earlier you start, the larger the sum. The compound interest calculator I used can be found via Google. Search for compound interest calculator, weekly contributions, and loads of options appear. I chose unbiased.co.uk because it is easy to use and it allows for weekly calculations. Not all do. The following three examples use £7 per week investment amounts. They all use 10% growth. This comes from the S&P 500, which has grown 10.4% annually over many decades and 13.38% over the last 10 years. We'll discuss this more in Part C. In other words, 10% is on the conservative side. Google it to check if you're unsure. Okay, here we have an investor who starts at the age of 21, paying £7 per week until they reach the age of 31. They stop paying in, but leave the fund invested until the retirement age of 66. Here we see the calculator form used, showing that the initial investment of £7 and the regular payment is also £7 and the frequency is weekly. The years of growth is set to 10, which is the age between 21 and 31. The growth percentage is also set to 10%, and how I got that figure is explained in Part C. Here you can see that I have selected monthly as the compound frequency. Now you can see that the investor has paid in a total of £3,640 and that after 10 years the value of the fund is £6,233. But wait, that's not all. We need to do some more calculations, because although no more money is paid in, the fund was left invested, so growth and compounding will still increase the fund's value. But by how much? Here we see the same calculator, but starting with the 10-year fund value of £6,233. You can see that contributions are set to 0, no more contributions. The years of growth is set to 35, that's the retirement age of 66, minus when he stopped paying, which is 31, so a total of 35 years. The calculator shows the fund value would be £203,437. Not bad, having only paid in £3,640. Okay, example 2. This investor liked to party when young, so he didn't start until they were 31. They invest the same £7 a week until they reach the retirement age of 66. Here we see the same compound calculator. It shows that the initial investment is £7 and that the weekly contribution is also £7. The contribution frequency is weekly. The years of growth is set to 35. That's the difference between 66 years of age and 31, and the compound frequency is set to monthly. The results show that this investor paid in a total of £12,740, but the fund's likely future value is £115,393. Okay, example 3. This investor started investing their £7 a week at the age of 21 and continued right through until retirement at the age of 66. The calculator shows £7 initial deposit, £7 additional contributions weekly. The years of growth is 45, which is obviously the difference between when he started at 21 and 66. The growth rate is the same at 10%. The compound frequency is the same monthly. And the interesting figures, this guy would have paid in a total of £16,380, but the potential future balance of his fund is a massive £318,588. That's the power of growth of the S&P 500 and compound interest. Part B, affordability. The amount of times I hear, I can't afford to invest, but I doubt that that's really true. A trip to the coffee shop, buying a coffee and a slice of cake is going to cost you more than £7. In my last workplace, there was a vending machine. I often witnessed people buying a soda, a packet of crisps, a chocolate bar. Each one of those costs over £1. Check your bank account for unused direct debits, the gym you intended to go to but that never really happened, a streaming service you don't really need. Most of us can find expenditures we can do without, and there is no better way to spend that money than investing in your future. Remember how much just £7 a week can produce. 1/3 of a million if you start at the age of 21. What a difference that would make. Part C, where to invest. This guy is Warren Buffett. What he doesn't know about investing is not worth knowing. He started his investment journey with pocket money when he was a youngster, and today his company is worth $147 billion. Most people don't have his knowledge to pick the right companies to invest in which case he recommends the S&P 500. This fund was started by Standard & Poor in 1941. It expanded in 1957 to include the 500 top companies in the USA. So Apple, Google, Microsoft, Meta, Amazon, you get the idea. Individual investors, pension fund managers, etc. buy into this fund. The fund then uses the money to buy shares in those 500 companies. Over time, those companies' value increases, which also increases the fund's value. Company profits are used to buy other companies and/or increase their product range through research and development, and some of their profits are paid out as dividends to shareholders. This money is then used to buy more shares in those 500 companies, adding further value to the fund you own part of. The chart on the right shows the S&P 500 since 1957. You can see that it has lots of ups and downs, but it has always headed in the overall upward direction. The annual average return since 1957 is 10.4%. The average over the last 10 years is 13.38%. You can check those figures on Google. This is why I used the growth figure of 10%. That way, the figures quoted should be on the conservative side. Part D, how to invest. The first thing you need is a broker. This shows a good selection from Google. There are many more brokers than this list shows. They all differ in how they make their money, and yet you will have to pay for their services. Some charge a fee, others rely on the stock spread. This is the difference between the price they buy a share or a fund and the price they sell them. It is important when choosing a broker to check how much they will charge you. They are not all the same. It's really important to make sure that your chosen broker is regulated by your country's government. In the UK, financial organisations are authorised by the FCA, the Financial Conduct Authority. It is important to check with the FCA website to make sure that your chosen broker is in fact authorised to offer the services you require. If not, you have no financial protection should the broker go bust. Like most places these days, there are those who wish to scam you, so be aware. Here's how to check the FCA website. Google FCA or go to fca.org.uk and go to their website. Select Check if a firm or individual is authorised from the drop-down menu. Select Firm. Now select I want to check a firm is genuine before I use them. Select Search the Firm Checker and select Check a Firm. They could make this simpler, couldn't they? And select Search for Firm. Here you can see the company I chose has been found and that there are 2 warnings of scam sites with very similar names. Select Learn More on one of these. This gives the warning that Trading 212, note no gap between the G and the 2, is a scam site. Select Investments including pension plans and click View Permissions. Here you see another warning that this is a genuine company but that there are scam sites out there. Select Continue. Here you can see that Trading 212, with a gap, is authorised to carry out the investments that you require. Okay, now the fun stuff. Download the app to your chosen broker. I'll be using Trading 212 simply because it's simple and easy to use. I have no affiliation with them in any way. You'll need to open an account. All brokers will ask you to identify yourself and will ask questions to see if you're suitable to hold an investment account. The questions are pretty straightforward. You can always use Google to research information. Once you've got to the stage, we will actually set up the £7 weekly investment. Okay, before we start setting up our trading account, I've decided to add 2 other funds in addition to the S&P 500. My reason is so that you can see how other investments can perform. I have added the Nasdaq 100, which is a tech-based fund, which can be volatile, but can also provide good results. The other fund I have added is the All World Fund, which has companies from, funnily enough, all around the world. Whereas the other 2 companies are based on USA companies. This provides us with some protection from having all our investing eggs in the US market. Another point is that I am based in the UK. Buying shares in US-based funds cost extra for changing British pounds into US dollars. I decided to buy shares of funds that operate on the London Stock Exchange. By doing this, I avoid unnecessary charges. This gives the benefits of the US markets, but without the extra costs. Okay, here we see the opening screen once you've opened an account with Trading 212. Scroll down the page and find plus New Pi button and click on it. Then click on Add Instruments. Then in the search box type in SP, XP, which is searching for the S&P 500. Now select Invesco S&P 500 AC. Note, the AC stands for Accumulate. This means that dividends, rather than being paid out to you, are reinvested, so your fund grows faster. Check that it's correct fund and then click Add to Pi. This screen shows you that you've added Invesco S&P 500 AC to your Pi. If you're adding another fund, click the top left arrow, which will take you back to the search page. If you're only going to go with the one fund, then click the blue circle on the bottom right to continue. Okay, we're adding 3 funds on this particular example, so search for fund EQQQ, which is Invesco's Nasdaq 100, again a cumulative, and select it as before. Check that it's correct and click Add to the Pie button. That's 2 of them done. Again, you'll see this page showing you that you've added that fund. And once again, if adding more than one, click top left and go back to the search function again, or blue circle to continue. Now search for the last one, which is VWRP, and select Vanguard FTSE All World ACK. Once more, check that it's correct and click Add to Pie button. Once again, you are shown that you have added that fund to your pie. Now we're done selecting funds, click the blue circle at the bottom right of your page to continue. Use the sliders or click the percentage number and set the S&P 500 and the All World funds to 40%. Set the riskier Nasdaq 100 to 20%. Now select Auto Invest and click Next. Use the sliders or click on the amounts to set both the initial deposit and the regular payments to £7 and then click Next. Set the recurring payments to weekly and click Update, and set the years to 10 or whatever period you choose and click Next. Here set your pie's name and click Next. Now check that the initial and recurring amounts are £7. Check the duration, it can be changed at any time, and note, remember example 1 where the 10-year results were 6,233? Well, here you can see that the system says the 10-year total could be 8,790. I told you the figures were conservative. Okay, now select your payment method, and again this can be changed later. Here you can check the amount you've set, and if there are any charges, you can see that here there is a 5p charge for the method I have chosen. You will probably get a bank security check. And that's it. The investment is all set up. Scroll down the page and you will see the 3 investments that we made. All that needs to be done now is to follow how well or not the funds do in the market. There is talk of a market crash or correction. They do that from time to time. I did not let that stop me from starting this investment now, because nobody really knows what the markets will do. If they did, they'd be mega rich. If the market goes down, then any future weekly purchases will be at the lower rate, which will bring down the average cost of purchases. Markets have always recovered, usually in a few months, but sometimes it can take longer. Bear in mind that this is a long-term investment and that the market will move up and down, but that over time it generally goes in an upward direction. Remember, if or when the market goes down, don't panic. Just keep investing your £7 weekly. I will leave the 3 funds I used as an example invested, and will report back with a short video each week of how the 3 funds are actually doing. Don't forget to subscribe so that you'll get notified when I upload those videos on the progress. I hope you found this video on how to make your retirement better than my own informative. Good luck, happy investing, and an even happier retirement. Cheers, Shorty.